Greetings friends, Jawless Paul here. In this video I wanted to go over the calls in Hades. Which of the calls do I like best? What do I think of them? What are the various mechanics that are useful for each of them? And in what circumstances might you want to take each of these? So I'll start by kind of talking about the way I think about the calls. I think about them in kind of two different categories. There are the calls that are good every single time you have a portion of the call bar filled. So as soon as you can activate it, is it, is that good? Is it good to activate it at that time? So some calls are good at any time. If you can activate them, you should, or it's a good idea to. It'll do something good, either damage or something like that. And then there are the calls that are pretty mediocre unless you've filled it all the way full. And so I'll talk about each of these and which one I think does which. And let's go ahead and just get started with Zeus here. Zeus aid call makes lightning strike rapidly nearby foes for a second and a half, and each of those is 50 damage. It strikes about 7 times, I would say, 6 or 7 times. And the damage is incredibly good. Like, you wouldn't think that 50 lightning damage in such a short duration would actually do all that much, because there is an internal cooldown for lightning strikes of 0.2 seconds, but it really adds up. And because it strikes so many things in an area, this one is quite good. I actually rank this one S tier. I'd say it's very, very good. It should also be noted that it's worthwhile to get Zeus's billowing strength here, because this is one of the best boons in the game. It's just flat damage increase for 15 seconds after using a call. That is a lot of time, and especially with these spammable calls like Zeus's aid, billowing strength is up all the time, and you can palm it as well. So that's Zeus's aid. Let's move on down the list. Poseidon's aid. Your call makes you surge into foes while impervious for 1.2 seconds. This one is pretty cool, actually. This is another one that is spammable. It's 1.2 seconds isn't very long. That's true. It's enough to hit several enemies or to hit a boss 2, maybe 3 times if you're very, very good at controlling it. But I would say that generally what you want is to get rip current, so it increases the duration by a second, and this lets you hit a lot of things, and it pulls enemies in. This is an amazing, if you can get rip current with Poseidon's aid, that is a very, very solid call. I've actually made several builds that were completely designed around Poseidon's aid. You try to get your aid up as quickly as possible. Sometimes you can even get the Athena boon that gives you the 25% at the start, and then you just use it immediately in each room. Sometimes you can even clear the first wave of enemies entirely with that first usage of Poseidon's aid. It's pretty great. I would rank Poseidon's aid probably at a solid B, but I would put it up to A tier if you can get rip current. It's that good. I think that you got to give it a shot. It's fantastic. All right, let's talk about Athena. Athena's aid, your call briefly makes you impervious and deflect all attacks. So you are basically invulnerable. You do not take any damage, and any projectiles are deflected back, which is pretty good. You get some damage off of that. But the most important thing is that you're impervious. This is a fairly spammable one, and especially if you palm this at all, if you palm Athena's aid, you get increased duration. Athena's aid is really good if you are trying to do a high heat run. This is wonderful to find. If you can find Athena's aid and Divine Dash, that's going to help out a ton. It's like a get out of jail free card if you just want to power through some enemies and not have to worry. Like if you have a combination you want to unload that, but it requires you to sit still. Like if you're using Lucifer Rail and it ramps up the damage, you can just stand still while you're invulnerable and just let that damage ramp up and up and up, and that's very good. It's hard to do when enemies are attacking you, but you cannot be interrupted and you're impervious to damage. So I'd say it's A tier. Very, very solid. That's Athena's Aphrodite. Aphrodite, this is our first one that is not, in my opinion, spammable at all. Your call fires a seeking projectile that inflicts charm. So all you get for the smaller sections of the call charge up is Charm. Now, Charm makes an enemy stop attacking you. It can interrupt their attack wind-ups and patterns, so even Hades, you can stop him in his tracks if he's about to summon his lasers, or he's about to do anything. If you charm him, he just stops and starts wandering around, and he doesn't do a thing. That's fine. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's certainly not that amazing. But if you get it to max gauge bonus, the 2500 damage is pretty nice. I'd say that is a nice little finisher, you could say, for a boss or a champ room or something. But I would say in terms of comparing them with the other calls out there, it's at the bottom of the pack. I'd say this is probably my least favorite call. The charm doesn't do enough in my opinion. 5 seconds is a long time, but it really doesn't do too much to damage the enemy, and so you just want to kill enemies in this game, in my opinion. You don't want to charm them. So if I were to, rank her near the bottom, probably like a C tier. Right? Not worthless. It's certainly useful, but it's C tier. It's down there. Artemis Aid. Call fires a seeking arrow with 35% crit chance. The arrow damage is 100. If you have max gauge, it fires 10 arrows all at once. You can pump this up to be some pretty decent damage, but this is another one that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use unless it's fully charged, in my opinion. It works very similarly to Aphrodite in that you really want to charge it up to full and then unload as a finisher of some kind. I would say that if you use it, you can use it incrementally, but you're not even going to really notice the damage all that much. It just doesn't feel very good to use it unless you've maxed out the gauge. So I'd put this, near the bottom of the pack too. You're getting some damage, but it's, the amount that you lose out on by not charging it fully, it makes it not worth it. So Artemis Aid, I'd put it, maybe C+ tier. Ares. Ares is one that you can use it. Incrementally, and it does do fairly decent damage. The rift damage per hit, it's every 0.2 seconds that damage goes off, but you have to stay on top of the enemies. You're fairly large while you do it, and you're impervious. So there's some nice things there. Being impervious is nice, but you move kind of slowly, and it can be hard to stick with enemies to do all the damage. I find this one, for some reason, to be a little bit annoying. It's my second least favorite one after Aphrodite. It does damage, but it doesn't provide a curse. It can be a get out of jail free card in some ways, and you can do some damage. But I'd rather have Athena, where I can actually use my abilities, which will do more damage than this. It's not bad. Like I should say this too. Like, all the calls have merit, right? There's nothing that's like garbage, but in my opinion, just not as powerful as the other ones. So I would say I rank this down in C tier as well. I don't like it too much. I'm gonna get some comments, I can tell about. I know a lot of people like Ares Aid. I know they do. I know you do. All right, so now let's talk about Dionysus Aid. This is another one that's very, very similar, in my opinion, very similar to Zeus in how it works. So your call inflicts hangover on foes all around you for 1.5 seconds. You get 5 bursts of Dionysus Aid, which poisons everything in that area that the burst goes off, and it's pretty good damage. You can use this, and I encourage you to use this incrementally. Don't wait for the max gauge bonus, because you'll probably be putting too many stacks out. 5 stacks is the perfect amount. It maxes out the stacks that the enemy has, unless you've got low tolerance, and you're doing quite a lot of damage. 15 damage every 0.5 seconds. It's every 0.5 seconds until it's done 8 ticks of damage from hangover. It adds up to a lot, and especially if you are fighting large groups, or if you're fighting bosses. The application for Dionysus Aid is very, very nice. It applies a curse, so if you've got privileged status, it's nice for that. I like Dionysus Aid a lot. Between Dionysus Aid and Zeus Aid, I'd say that they're very comparable. Maybe Zeus gets the edge just a little bit because of how good some of his tier 2 boons are, but Dionysus Aid is very, very solid. I would take Dionysus Aid in a heartbeat. Very, very nice. S tier as well. All right, Demeter. Demeter's Aid creates a winter vortex that grows over 5 seconds, inflicting chill. This is another one that's spammable. Unfortunately, it's stuck in a single location, but it is very large. Once it gets to its full size, it is quite large. Unfortunately, this one, The damage is okay, but really you're just you're trying to inflict chill. That's the main purpose of this. So you're getting that second curse for privileged status, ideally, and you get some damage. There are some tier 2 boons that make it better in terms of its damage. Stacking, like killing freeze, makes it do some damage, which is very nice. But I would say, generally speaking, Demeter's 8 is good, but it's not great. So I'd put it in B. B plus maybe. Well, we'll put it, it's kind of in the middle of the pack if you ask me in terms of the calls. Hermes doesn't have a call. He's got several boons that affect your call. He's got second wind, which gives you dodge chance and movement speed for 10 seconds after your call. And so that's good. And then he has one that has your god gauge increase automatically. Not very good. Not very good at all. Before I talk about this next one, just know that this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to be spoiled on this particular keepsake, I encourage you to skedaddle. We also have Hades call. So it makes you invisible, and then it starts at 30% full. You get damage bonus while you are stealth, and if you max gauge it, you turn unseen instead. I don't know. This one kind of is a completely separate thing. I would only take this if I didn't find a call that was already good enough, right? I wouldn't put this on early in the run because I only wanted it. I would only put it on at the end. But if I found Zeus or Dionysus, or possibly even Demeter or Poseidon, I would not take it. So it's up to you. I guess I put it in the middle of the pack as well. It's good, but I don't know how good the application is. Some people I'm sure love it. Friends, that is going to do it for all of the calls in the game. What do you think of my list? Am I completely off? Do you think that you have a better list? Please tell us all below what you think, what you like best, how you play. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in making these videos is that everybody has a different style and a different thing that they like to do. I encourage you to experiment with the calls. Don't write off a call until you've really dived into it. I had written off Poseidon's, and it turns out Poseidon is a heck of a lot of fun and quite good if you get rip current. So give it a shot. If you liked the video, please leave a like. That helps a lot. If you want to see more of this stuff, you can always subscribe, as you know. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.